There can be a lot of challenges in choosing a pathway. Sometimes so many that you may decide, I don't want to make a choice at all. Because making one choice leaves out another option, and I just might miss out on something that I truly would be interested in. And yet, the benefits are much greater. It provides a clarity, a pathway, and easy way to find your next step. So today, we're going to discuss choosing a pathway, the benefits, and more on this episode of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom, I found something new out today. While that intro is playing, if you go, psst, makes it really fun. Psst. I don't know why. Try it.
Are you okay?
I am fine.
Did you hit your head last night?
No, I didn't.
Fall out of bed?
No, I didn't fall out of bed. I didn't hit my head. I didn't drink too much. I didn't eat too much.
That's a fascinating thought, Bob. Thank you so much for sharing your value. As we know, someone out there might really say, huh.
I want to know the first person who rewinds it and listens to the intro again and goes, psst. I was enjoying myself.
I might not hold my breath on that one.
Okay. All right.
Waiting for that response.
All right. Fair enough.
Just a thought. You can.
I got the light worked out today, but I can't seem to get the background worked out.
What's wrong with the background?
It's showing. See how it's pixelating a bit? It annoys me.
It helps if you have a green screen.
It helps if you have a green screen, but if you have a green screen the way I have a green screen, I have a cat, a 10-week-old cat that likes to climb the green screen. So we haven't figured that out yet. We're working on it.
You could lower it and raise it for every show.
Oh, didn't even think of that. Look at you sharing your value.
Well, you know.
But that's part of choosing a pathway, right? I chose a pathway, which was, I'm kind of not going to deal with it because the cat was antagonizing it.
Yes.
And that was the pathway I chose. I share it with you, just as, hey, this is what's going on. And you say to me, hey, have you ever considered altering your pathway a little bit? Here's another alternative. Not that you didn't say I was wrong. You didn't say I was stupid. You didn't say I was silly. You didn't say you didn't think this through fully. You just provided me with what? You thought that in your head probably. But you gave me an alternative, and now I have a new pathway, right? Because we've been talking all week about this whole idea of pathways, and I don't know that we've made it concrete enough. So there's a great example. Now, I can try what you suggested. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. If it works, great, beautiful. Now I've got a pathway. Now I know a way to make the black behind me not do what it does. Great. If it doesn't work for some reason, if the cat still is playing with it, if it's still, I will learn something that will help me take the next step. Maybe it's going to force me to move in a new direction. Maybe it's going to force me to change the direction of my desk. All those things. But I like the fact that I came up with a solution, and then new information causes that solution to lead to alternatives.
Correct.
And I think so often what we don't do is we don't share what we're doing with people. We just come up with something and go down the path when someone might say, hey, I tried that path. It's a dead end. Or I tried that path and you're going to get about 4 steps down it and go, wow, this is really not what I was expecting. Not that you have to follow their suggestion, but it gives you more information.
Yes. And,
yes.
And
that was a yes. Like, you're throwing this show completely out of kilter. Please bring it back.
That's what's real for you. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I just thought that we might want to welcome everyone and make sure that they are aware that they are watching or listening to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we have a conversation around a topic. As you can tell, we were already getting started with our topic today around choosing a pathway, and I think we were getting to the benefits. And as we have that conversation, we welcome your thoughts and ideas. So please feel free on whatever platform you happen to be following us on, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
LinkedIn Live, baby. Yes, indeed. You can share your thoughts and ideas, because just like each of us shared our value already, some value this morning, that some people may benefit from. When you share yours, someone else will gain from that as well. And you might help them find their next step along their own unique pathway to success, whether they use it today or maybe somewhere down the road. So please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas. At the end of the conversation, we will then share our one thing, our today's antidote, the thing that we hope will help you move forward. So if you have a one thing you'd like to share, of course, please feel free to share that as well. Now, before we return to our conversation that we started, we're going to share our celebrations, because we always just share our celebrations, usually first thing on the show.
Happens.
Sometimes. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating the fact that we can be surprised. I had a client yesterday surprise me with something. It was something we talked about probably a year ago, and it was dismissed pretty quickly. It was a suggestion. It was an idea. It was dismissed. And then yesterday I got word from this person. They texted me and said, hey, check this thing out. And they had done it. And if you had asked me yesterday morning at 8 a.m., what are the odds that you would find out that this person did this thing? I'd say 0 chance in 1,000. And so it was a surprise. And it was an idea that I shared, and just over time, they thought about it more, unbeknownst to me. I've been interacting with this person a lot, and we just never talked about it again because they dismissed it so quickly. But what I didn't know is in the background, they were working through it in their own head, and they were able to execute it. It wasn't anything that I needed to do. It was just something we talked about.
So results can change.
Yes, correct. And expectations can change. And what's interesting to me is now today, as I talk about it, my expectations for this person have changed. Because now I know that they are more open to ideas. It may take them a while to execute those ideas.
That might be the real learning.
Correct. Yep. So
they process thoughts and ideas differently.
Yeah. And also, I think it took a lot of logistical work along the way that to me would be easy logistical work. To this person, it was more complicated.
Sure.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Surprise can be a good thing.
Yes.
Can be a thing.
How about you?
Well, today I get to make one of my all-time favorite trips.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know you liked that. You mean the drive itself or where you're going?
Both.
Okay. You're going to Hamilton, I assume. Hamilton College.
Am.
In lovely outside of Binghamton, right? No?
Yes. 90 miles outside of Binghamton, 60 miles outside of Binghamton.
Which way is it from Binghamton?
Northeast a little bit. Northeast, let's say.
What's the nearest big city to it? Toronto?
Utica. Syracuse.
Okay. All right. So you're way up there. What's it take? 6-7 hours from Baltimore?
It'll take 5.5, depending on how many times I stop. And I'll probably stop a couple because I'm going to do a couple of video things to my classmates because I'm our class president. So I want to share with them some reminders of their trips back to Hamilton as a student and where were their favorite stops. So I have a restaurant that, although this path is different than the pathway I took when I was a student, What's the restaurant? It's the Speedy and Rib Pit in Binghamton, New York.
Okay.
And if you haven't ever had a Speedy, it's a delicacy in upstate New York.
What is it?
It is marinated chicken, cut up and put on the traditional way is on a slice of bread.
Okay.
A hot dog roll is a little more
What is the chicken marinated in?
special sauces. I don't know.
Like, does it taste like barbecue sauce? Does it taste like
No.
Mexican sauce?
No, it's more like an Italian/Greek thing.
Okay. Wow. You've got my mouth watering at
They're very good.
7:24 in the morning. Okay.
Very good. And of course, there are always some other, and it reminds me of the places I used to stop going when I was a student going to college. You know, when you travel one route a lot, you have a number of regular stops.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I worked a job for 7 months, 2 hours away from Baltimore, and I would drive up every chance I got to see this woman. And there are still, whenever I make that drive, it's like, oh, I got to stop here and have a sub. And oh, shoot, this place closed. That's always what's really cataclysmic. You're like, well, no, how can this place close? It's only been 30 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why that would have happened.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Anyhow, so I'm excited about that trip.
You even have your Hamilton shirt on right now, right?
I do have my Hamilton shirt on right now.
Tom representing.
Well, you know,
Tom's a
good.
big supporter of Hamilton.
I am. Long time. It's been a long time since I graduated. And my daughter went there as well, so I have.
Right.
Extra beneficial. And I met my wife there. So there's a lot of
Embedded in the Brush family tradition.
Correct. Yes, indeed. All right.
All right.
So now let's go back to our conversation because you were doing such a great job of sharing some of the benefits of choosing a pathway.
Would you like to share some?
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. I kicked it off.
Well, I think one of the things that, you know, the first thing that came to my mind was about the benefits was that you could find some clarity, that you had looked at your options and finally made a choice. And I think that living in that world or the land of decision or indecision is really hard because I think we start, you know, so many things run through our heads. And I think that figuring out, again, because I think we're constantly caught up in the right, wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those two words that I really don't like using. And I think that's a normal process is like, well, if I do, you know, and typically there are some things that are really beneficial about all of them, like I always like to say, and there are lots of obstacles, some seen and some unseen, and any pathway that we choose. And I think that we don't often consider that, or we consider it differently. You know, I think when we, you know, if you're like someone who will make my list of why this choice would be, you know, what are the pluses and the minuses, as most people would say. And I think we make those lists, that yet we never are able to truly come up with all of the positive, negative, pluses, minuses, challenges, benefits, because there are those that we can't know. And I would almost argue that each pathway has a similar amount of challenges and benefits. Again, some are more apparent than others. And so it seems like that becomes the best choice because it has the most positives at the moment. Yet, likely if someone else asked you questions about it, you would probably discover other challenges or benefits that you had never considered. So living in that world of, and I think that's one of the challenges, is that not only do we see make our own lists, then others provide their feedback or their thoughts or ask us questions that create even more, makes it hard. And I think that at some point, once you make that decision, that clears away, at least momentarily, all of those other challenges and opportunities that are in front of you. Doesn't mean that some people don't consider them and say, oh man, maybe I'm going to miss out on this, or this. I think, though, that it at least provides some, even temporary clarity on, okay, what do I need to do next? And in some regards, that's the thing that's going to help keep you moving. I think living in that land of indecision can be helpful for a while as you contemplate your options. And staying there too long, I think, really makes it even more cloudy rather than making a choice. And once you make a choice, you're like, okay. Now, if you're able to remove all of that fear of missing out and all the other things, that possibilities, you can move forward. It at least allows you to take one step.
I like that. I think another benefit when we talk about making a choice, choosing a pathway, is that it helps solidify what we're really trying to do. There are times when I've chosen a pathway that's different than what I thought I was trying to achieve.
Okay.
Because something new has come along. It's like, well, I thought my priority was A, but you know what? As I reflect on it, as I think about this pathway, you know what? I'd rather go to B. I want to have pizza. You know what? I'm not in the mood for pizza. I think I'm going to have Chinese food. And I think we do that in bigger contexts as well. It's like, well, I thought I taught college, how many students freshman year? I want to be a doctor. Then they get into the hard science courses and suddenly they're like, yeah, so I'm thinking about something that doesn't have as much science in it because I'm really struggling here. So by taking the choice of going down the science pathway, they got into it and then they realized it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't a good fit. So that making a choice, choosing a pathway, even if it turns out not to be the best pathway, the right pathway, the pathway that we're trying to get to, still has value because it's giving us the information. And the students would, my parents are going to kill me. It's like, talk to them about it, explain it to them. And this would be right before Thanksgiving break, every year. Because I taught at a university where there were a lot of pre-med students. And you'd have these discussions. Hey, can I talk to you after class? Yeah, sure. What's going on? Have to tell my parents I can't do medical school. I don't want to go to medical school. And so they go home, they talk to their parents, they come back after the Thanksgiving break, and they'd be light as could be, like just excited about school in a way they weren't before because now suddenly they have different options. And I think that's the thing. When we choose a pathway, we're at least trying something. I think choosing a pathway is probably a misnomer because it makes it sound like I got to go to the end. You're at the campsite, you're going to take the 3-mile loop around this way and that way to get to the waterfall. You have to take the pathway. It's not true. You could carve your own pathway through the woods and get to the waterfall. You listen for water, you'll find it. You might get all kinds of things happening to your skin in the process. Going down the pathway might be easier, it might be safer, but you do have that ability. And I think one of the things that's the misnomer is that I think I at least make choosing a pathway far more serious and far more long-term than it has to be.
Sure, because you don't know the results of any of the actions you're going to take along that pathway. And I think, to me, it's sort of like you said, is that the pathway is the best decision we can make at the moment, given all the information that we have. Not the best. It's just not even the best. It's the decision that we make in the moment, given all the information that we have. So we've chosen a pathway. We don't have to follow that pathway 100%. You may choose a pathway in the woods to the waterfalls, and that's great. And along the pathway, you see a sign that you didn't know was there that says, hey, great lookout. This way, 0.2 of a mile. You're like, huh. Now I have new information in a moment based on something that I wasn't even aware of. Let me take that pathway. Let me make that choice. I walk over, I check out say, wow, that was an amazing view. I'm so glad that I did that. And then I can say, maybe this was what more effective than the waterfall. I'll go back now. I'm good. Maybe I spent so much time looking at this beautiful view, then now it's dark. And if I want to get back before it's getting close to dark, before it gets dark, I'm going to head back. I think that choosing just at least gives you some clarity to get started and allows you to take an action, see the results, and then make a next decision. And I think that when we don't, we have no idea what we're doing or why we're doing it. And typically when that happens, we stop taking actions, which means that we're not learning and we're not able to sort of determine, how do I get closer and closer to where I want to be?
I have a crazy thought, Tom. And I did put your quote up there because it was so good. So that's me. I have a crazy thought, which is we talk about this pathway and we talk about it as a terminal point, right? An end point. But what if choosing a pathway really is choosing the next step? Because if you think about it, once you take that next step, which you and I really advocate, figure out your next step and then see what happens, then go from there. What if that's really choosing a pathway, that choosing the next step is choosing your pathway, and you're just constantly choosing next step? Because when I go to the waterfall, I'm choosing the next step. Oh, there's a tree in the way. Do I go around it? Do I go over it? Do I go under it? Do I turn around? And I can't know that till I get there.
Well, I think it's all part of the bigger piece. I'm not sure that choosing a pathway is I forget exactly what you said, but you said something about it being about the, that we think about choosing
making
the end destination.
Yes. Next step.
I think it's different.
Okay.
I think that it is that choosing a pathway just allows us to take action because we have a better sense of or different sense of what those actions could be, and could lead to correct.
Okay.
And that which is the destination.
Okay.
We think at the moment that we make it is beneficial. I think the challenge is if all you're doing is choosing the next step.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's the opportunity to get really lost in that state of indecision.
Okay.
Again, only because there's no mapped out plan. So it would be like if I was driving from here to DC, from my house to DC. Okay, my first thing is I pull the end of my driveway. That was the first decision was, okay, I'm going to DC. So the first thing I need to do is start my car and drive it down my driveway. Okay, that's fairly
Or in
easy.
some cases, find your keys, I understand.
Well, there's that too. I mean, there's a lot of little
inside joke.
So let's find the next step and then move forward. So then I get to my driveway, into my driveway. Okay, I need a new pathway. Which pathway do I want to choose? Well, I think that, so now I'm back to like, oh my God, do I want to go right or do I want to go left? Or maybe some people could go straight. And now I have to make another decision. And yes, we make those decisions, although I think that the pathway sets out an intended pathway with multiple steps along the way that we believe.
Like intended pathway. I like that phrase.
Because it's the path that we believe is going to get us to where we want to go. It's not just, I want to get to the end of my driveway. Okay. I mean, yes, that is a pathway and that is a choice. And then I have to stop again and say, okay, I'm at the end of my driveway. Which way am I going to go now? I haven't hit any roadblocks. I still have to make choices because I haven't really considered that. It would almost be like saying, okay, I look at my map. First thing I have to do is drive to the end of my driveway. Okay, done. I think this is my thoughts on what you were sharing. Is that then I have to pull my map out again and be like, okay, do I go right or left? I'll go right. Made a choice. I go right. I drive along, and then I'm like, what am I going to do next? Do I just keep driving until I hit a red light and I have to make a choice? or a dead end and I have to make a choice? Or do I just keep driving straight and see where that takes me? I'll just keep driving straight. I think
Right. Okay.
I think there's a lot in what you said, and I think that there is a difference between a destination and a pathway. I think the pathway lays out a plan to reach the destination. So the pathway, if I was driving to DC, is I would look at all my options, and I would say, okay, here's the pathway that I'm going to choose, which means I drive to the end of the driveway, I take a right, I go down 2 miles, I exit onto the thruway or onto the highway, get on the highway, drive, come to the Beltway, take the Beltway to 95. So that's my pathway. So I don't have to stop every moment and evaluate. Now I could, based on that pathway, say, hey, I know that based on my knowledge, experience, and perspective, I know that 695 can get backed up. I know that going from here to DC, once I get around the Baltimore Beltway, there's 95 and 295 are 2 options. And there's some other options before that. Do I take 70 to 29 to 95? So I can start that pathway, and I know a couple of steps that I believe are going to best help me get to DC until something happens that I wasn't expecting. And now I have to look at my results and choose, do I stay on the pathway that I'm going, or do I choose another way?
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm trying to apply it to a business situation. So I guess let me see if I can apply it to a business situation. My brick and mortar store needs more customers.
Yes.
Right? There you go. That's the destination.
Well, okay. Sure.
Okay. So the pathway could be Google ads, Facebook ads, supporting local baseball teams, billboards, a blimp, sponsoring the annual parade, on and on and on. By the way, folks, you're getting some free marketing help if you have a brick and mortar store. I'm kidding. But so I decide that I'm going to get a blimp just because. And the blimp doesn't work. It flies. Don't get me wrong, it flies, but it doesn't reach the intended goal. So I've run the blimp for 3 months, not getting what I want. We haven't seen an increase in customer. Now I need to choose a different pathway. Most people would recommend, try something else. Well, I'm going to try Facebook ads. Okay. See what Facebook ads do. They work for a lot of situations. It didn't work for me for whatever reason. The image was wrong. The content was wrong. The placement, whatever. Is that choosing different pathways to get to the same destination?
No, I think it is choosing a pathway.
Okay.
And realizing that you can't control the results. You chose the best that you could. You looked at all the options and you thought the blimp was the best marketing opportunity. Now,
there's someone out there going, this guy's serious about this blimp.
It's choose whatever it could be. Let's do it differently just so that it doesn't seem as, what if it was, I know I need to market to drive people to my store, virtual or brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could do Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
I could do an ad in the newspaper. I could do a sponsorship of a local team. I could do a Groupon, or I could do something else. So I've chosen that marketing is the pathway that I can believe. And I believe that if I do these 4 steps, let's say it's Groupon. That's right. Let's advertise in the local newspaper. And it could be, all right, well, my goal is that, my store, people usually visit on the weekend. That's the greatest pathway. So I want to start advertising, let's say Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as lead up to. So I do that, and I go along and I measure my results at some point because I've picked a moment of which I'm going to evaluate that. And then I can say, this is either I'm getting the results that I thought I might, or I'm not. And let's say you're not. All right, well, maybe that wasn't when people decide on what they're going to do or when they realize that they need to do it. Maybe it's Saturday morning because they open up the paper first thing and they do that. or maybe it's Monday and Tuesday.
Where are these people, Tom? As someone who spent the start of my career in newspapers, I want to know the small town or big town that you think everyone's getting their paper on Saturday morning.
You're making this challenging.
I'm just saying.
It's a concept for people to understand.
A concept embedded in like 1989.
Do people still advertise in the newspaper?
Not as many as they used to.
That wasn't the question I asked.
Some do, yes.
So it's a pathway to consider. And I would think that there are car dealerships who might say that is a really effective way.
Okay.
There are people who do it. Otherwise, the newspapers will be completely out of business. Anyhow, so I think that's now you go along and you say, maybe newspaper is passé. It's 1989, and I need to do something different. So now I go back to what are my other options, and maybe I've discovered new ones. Maybe I've discovered direct mail. I hadn't even thought about that. Direct mail could be something that I would do and say, that sounds really interesting. Now I'm going to choose that action to help me continue down my pathway. Like my pathway hasn't changed. My destination hasn't changed.
Your steps have changed.
The steps, the actions that I've taken along the way have changed because I wasn't getting the results I expected. Something got in the way. There was an unseen obstacle that popped up, or there was a benefit that came in. Maybe I'm doing the newspaper ads and holy cow, look at all the people who started showing up. What if I did it Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Right.
Would that not only increase weekend traffic, maybe it would also increase end of the week traffic? So, and now you're still on the newspaper ad marketing pathway. You just modified it a little bit. So I think that to me, and this might be my one thing, that the benefit is, although I had another one that I'm going to have to share as well, was that choosing a pathway allows you to lay out a plan. It allows you to continually take action until you reach a milestone that you either planned to evaluate or is an unplanned reason that you have to evaluate. The road's closed. The newspaper shuts down. Well, now what am I going to do? Now I have to stop and choose a different pathway to get to where I wanted to go. So I think that having more than just the next step figured out, it kind of lets you lay out a plan that you believe in this moment is the decision that's going to help you either most effectively or efficiently or quickly reach the destination that you desire.
I like that. Wow. That was a lot going on there. Plus you used the word passé, which was totally out of left field.
So what's your one thing?
My one thing would be that if you choose a pathway, the biggest benefit to me is that you're no longer stuck. You're taking action and you're moving. Even if it turns out to be not the pathway that you were looking for, not the result that you were looking for, not what you expected, you're still taking action. And I think what I've found for me is taking action is far better than sitting and going, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And gathering 88 opinions only to then have 88 reasons to go, you know what? I need to think about this some more.
Sure. I like it.
All right. Nice.
All right. If you have your one thing, please feel free to share it in the comments. And we know if you're listening to the podcast, there's no opportunity to share. So we hope that if you have thoughts and ideas or one thing that you'd like to share around this topic, choosing a pathway, the benefits, that you will go to one of our groups. Whether if you're a LinkedIn person, go to our Renegade Success Network for Leaders group, and you can share it there. If you're not yet a member of that, it's easy to do. Just shoot us a message in Messenger, or just search for Renegade Success Network for Leaders on LinkedIn, and you can join us there. If you're a Facebook person, you can go to our Ring of Renegades and join the number of people there and share your thoughts and ideas there. Not yet a member of that. You can
join both groups, right, Tom?
If you are so inclined, you can join.
I joined both groups. Did you?
I did. I think we created both groups. Is that really joining? I don't know. It's a good thought. Anyhow, I think those are two pathways that you could choose: LinkedIn, Facebook, or both. Anyhow, we look for, you can share your thoughts and ideas there, because we know that when you add your value, as Bob shared at the beginning today, others will benefit. So join us inside of those groups. We look forward to seeing you there. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote. It's Bob's favorite.
Discoveries of the week. Yes.
Every Friday, we do our Discoveries of the Week. So we look forward to seeing you there. Go out and have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. And if you're someone who reads the newspaper on Saturday morning, put a comment in there. I'd love to see if there's anyone out there who actually gets up on Saturday morning and reads the paper. I'm just saying.
Don't you get up on Saturday morning and read the paper?
I read it on my phone typically now.
Is that reading the paper?
I read the paper every day, but I also am a trained journalist. So
interesting.
Different than the average person, I've come to realize.
Aren't we all unique and different than the average? There is no average person.
Okay, fair.
It's not a thought. All right, everyone.
A lot going on today.
Lots to think about. Go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.